There are two conversations happening right now about struggling readers. One is about ADHD, the attention piece, the working memory piece, the way a brain that is perpetually distracted can't hold a text long enough to make meaning from it. The other is about dyslexia, the decoding piece, the way a phonological processing difference makes the mechanical act of reading laborious even when the comprehension is there. These conversations almost never happen in the same room. But for a significant number of families, maybe even families like yours, both are happening at the same time in the same child. And nobody's connecting those two threads and explaining what that combination actually means for reading. The 2024 NAEP data shows that students with disabilities are most severely impacted group in the reading crisis. Nearly 3 in 4 reading below the most basic level. For kids carrying both profiles, the compounding effect isn't additive, it's multiplicative. Each one makes the other harder. What the literacy crisis means for your family. You've tried everything and you're still watching your child struggle. There's a literacy crisis happening in America right now. 2 out of 3 fourth graders are not reading at grade level. Test scores are at the lowest point in decades. And the conversation happening in schools, in legislatures, in the media is focused on curriculum, on phonics, on screen time. But nobody's talking about the families sitting in the intersection of two of the most misunderstood and underserved challenges in education. The families navigating ADHD and dyslexia at the same time. This video is for you. I'm Kelly Sutherland from Learning in a Distracted World. I'm a national board certified teacher and reading specialist with 25 years in the classroom and a deep training in structured literacy, Wharton Gillingham, and the language structure knowledge that underpins specialist level dyslexia intervention. And I'm going to give you something no one has given you yet, a clear picture of what's actually happening in your child's brain when they're trying to read. If you're a podcast listener listening in the car, the full video with slides is on YouTube. The link is in the show notes. Come back and watch when you can. They're not twice as challenged. They're navigating two separate systems, failing at once. I want to describe a child to you. They are smart, and everyone who knows them knows it. They make connections that surprise adults. They have ideas that come faster than they can get them out. They are genuinely funny, creative, and curious, and they're drowning the moment a book comes out. Here's what's actually happening in that child's brain during a reading assignment. Dyslexia means the phonological processing system, the part of the brain that maps sounds to letters, does not work automatically. Decoding requires conscious effort and significant cognitive load. So the brain is working hard just to get the words off the page. ADHD means the working memory system, the part of the brain that holds information while the mind does something with it, is unreliable under low interest conditions. Sustaining attention on demand, holding the thread of text, connecting what was read 3 paragraphs ago to what's on the page right now, all of that is genuinely harder. When both are present at the same time, the child is dealing with two separate cognitive task systems running simultaneously. The decoding effort is draining the working memory. The working memory weakness is making it harder to compensate for the decoding challenge. And by the time they get to the end of a paragraph, comprehension has often collapsed entirely. That's not a child who's not trying. That is a child who's working harder than anyone in the room realizes and getting less back for it than anyone understands. Why the standard interventions have not worked. The plan was built for one, not both. Here's something I hear from parents navigating both ADHD and dyslexia constantly. We tried the reading tutor, It helped a little bit, but then the attention would collapse and the gains would disappear. We tried the ADHD strategies, the movement breaks, the shorter tasks, the fidget tools. Those helped too, but the reading still was not coming together. Every year, the gap got wider. This is not a failure of effort. This is a plan built for one condition being applied to two. I want to stop right here and just give you a little bit of information. I'm going to go into explaining structured literacy programs. But one of the things that really stood out to me in my training program, specifically for dyslexia, is that my mentor that was teaching us the program often said to us, if the child has ADHD, then this program is not going to work with them unless you address the ADHD first. And that really stood out to me in the training and really drove home the point. And when I started putting it into practice, in clinical practice, I saw clearly. The program itself is very structured and requires a lot of repetitive actions in order to build the processing progress that's needed for dyslexia interventions to really take root. And it's basically rewiring the brain to understand the decoding that they're missing. And that takes a lot of repetitive practice. And for kids that really struggle with the ADHD and attention, that was extremely difficult for us in actually applying that. It took a lot of time. These are intensive interventions that last 2, 3, 4 years. And it requires a lot of repeated over and over intensive practice in specific skills. And it's that routine practice that works against the ADHD's need for novelty and interest. And oftentimes I would see that clash when a child also had attention problem. So I just wanted to kind of share that little insight in what I saw in practice because I believe it brings more depth to what we're about to describe in the actual programs. So back to the regularly scheduled program. Structured literacy intervention, Orton Gillingham and related approaches, is the most research supported method for teaching children with dyslexia to read. It works, but it requires sustained focus and working memory to execute. When ADHD is also present, the intervention itself needs to be adapted to account for the attention and working memory demand. And when the reading intervention is not adapted, when it's delivered in long sessions without movement, without multisensory engagement, without frequent novelty, ADHD will undermine the gain. That's why the intersection is its own category, not ADHD plus dyslexia support, a strategy that was designed from the start for a brain that has both. The literacy crisis hits this child the hardest. They are already the most underserved. Now the system has less to give. The literacy crisis is making this harder for every child, but for children navigating both ADHD and dyslexia, the impact is compounding. Teachers are stretched thinner than at any point in recent memory. What actually works for this brain? 3 systems built for the brain that has both. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. There are 3 tools that work with ADHD dyslexic brain, not against it. And you can start those 3 at home right now without a specialist, without a curriculum purchase, without rearranging your entire family schedule. The first is intentional conversation. Strive for 5. 5 back and forth exchanges on any topic your child cares about. This builds oral language and background knowledge that is the foundation of reading comprehension. It works with the ADHD brain because it's interest based and interactive. It works with the dyslexic brain because it builds the oral language foundation that compensates for what decoding does not give. You can do this over dinner, in the car, before bed. The second is text mapping. For kids with ADHD and dyslexia, giving text a visual structure transforms the experience. You assign colors to types of thinking: yellow for main idea, blue for details, green for vocabulary, pink for connection. Colors don't really matter. It's the physical act of marking that gives the ADHD brain something to do, and the visual structure gives the dyslexic brain a map. 4 colors applied to anything your child reads. The third is NotebookLM. It's a free AI tool from Google, and it can take any reading assignment and turn it into an audio conversation your child can interact with. For a child at the intersection of ADHD and dyslexia, this removes 2 barriers at once: the decoding barrier and the attention barrier. Your child can listen, engage, think, and connect. This is not a shortcut. It is the most effective scaffold I have found for this specific combination of challenges. These 3 systems work together. Conversation builds comprehension, text mapping supports digital and print reading, Notebook LM bridges the gap when reading on demand is required. Start with one, start tonight. Your role in this: you're not the tutor, you're the head coach. You're not expected to become a reading specialist or an ADHD coach. That is not your role. Your role is head coach. You see the whole game. You coordinate the team: the teachers, the tutors, the therapists, occupational therapists, the reading interventionists. You make sure everyone is pulling in the same direction, and you create the conditions at home: the dinner table conversations, the car ride questions, the Notebook LM sessions, where your child's brain can do what it does best. And I want to say something directly to the parents in the audience who have ADHD themselves. Your brain works like mine. Sustained, focused engagement at the end of a long day can feel impossible. That's not a character flaw. That's the ADHD tax, which is exactly why the 3 systems I just described were designed to be low lift. Conversations over dinner is not a curriculum. Text mapping takes 5 minutes, and Notebook LM takes 3. You do not have to be on. You just have to be present and intentional. That is enough. If what I'm sharing is resonating, I want you to know about the Destination Success Summer Bootcamp. It's a free 5-day live experience specifically designed for families navigating ADHD, dyslexia, or both. 5 days, second week of June, free. The link is in the description. The future rewards exactly how their brain works when they have the right foundation. I want to leave you with this: the combination of ADHD and dyslexia is more common than most people realize. Research suggests that over 40% of children with dyslexia also have ADHD. 40%. And yet, the systems, the intervention, the parent resources that exist are almost entirely built around one or the other, not both. You have not been imagining it. The plan has not fit your child because it's not built for your child. But here's what's also true: the child who learns to think through conversations, who develops strong listening comprehension, who learns to use AI as a scaffold, who builds the metacognitive skills to understand how their brain learns best, that child is not behind. That child is building exactly the cognitive architecture the future is going to reward: verbal reasoning, creative problem solving, the ability to synthesize information across sources and communicate ideas in multiple formats. These are the skills AI cannot replace, and your child has been building them, often in spite of a system that kept measuring them on the wrong thing. They just needed the right roadmap and a parent who understands the full picture. Destination Success Summer Bootcamp. 5 days, the full picture, a new starting point. The Destination Success Summer Bootcamp is a free 5-day live experience for parents of kids with ADHD, dyslexia, or both. We start by resetting the story, throwing out the measuring stick that has been making your child look like they're failing when they're anything but. I'll give you the full picture of what your child is actually navigating. And together, we'll build a summer plan around what actually moves the needle. 5 days, second week of June, free to attend live. There'll be VIP options, a replay, and workbook available. If you're a podcast listener, the link is in the show note. And if you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description. If this resonated, drop the phrase both of these in the comments. Because if you're navigating both ADHD and dyslexia, I want to know. And I want every parent watching this to know they're not alone in it. If you know another parent at this intersection, share this video with them because they are the most underserved family in this conversation. And that ends here. I'm Kelly Sutherland from Learning in a Distracted World, and I'll see you in the boot camp.